Wrestling, a podcast by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to the official podcast of Jonesboro Wrestling. This is Robert Redd, and I'm going to be joined today by my very special guest, Brad. How you doing today, Brad?
I'm doing good. I'm here because I had nothing better to do.
You're here so you just won't get fined, right?
Yeah, I'm here so I won't get fined.
Well, that's good. Well, on this podcast, we have some very interesting topics. We're going to be talking a lot about NXT. So we're going to be talking about NXT, if it positively impacts up-and-coming talent, possibly yes, possible no, which title has more value, the IC or the US, and also should NXT get more network time. But first, I do want to remind our listeners, we do have a Patreon page. You can go and support the podcast. It's patreon.com/PPWP. But as always, for our first segment, we talk about Raw, SmackDown, and Impact for this week. So, Brad, kind of what was your favorite moment of Raw this week?
I don't think that is really even up for debate. It's got to be Sting's appearance, the ending with Randy. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you there. And Raw, for the most part, didn't have a lot of good that you could say about it. So just the whole Randy Orton and then Seth Rollins potential matchup, and then the Authority coming out, and then having the lights go out, Sting come out, and then just both of them lay waste to pretty much the Authority. I think pretty much for the most part saved Raw all, and that's what made Raw worth watching. So I definitely agree with you. That was the best moment of Raw.
Randy seems like he's been on fire since he's been back, and I think I don't know if it's a reflection of his personal life. Maybe he's happier with what's going on in his life, but there's something different about him. My only complaint with that is I think that angle hasn't been executed the best that it could have been, but there's definitely been some highlights. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. I do feel they could have done that angle better, and instead of having Randy come back to join the Authority, just pretty much come back and put it to Seth Rollins every week up until WrestleMania. But let's move on to SmackDown. Kind of what were your favorite moments of SmackDown this week, Brad?
Ziggler and Bryan has to be. Every time they get together, they just tear the house down. And other than that, along the same lines, what they're doing with the IC title right now is awesome. I think it's the best thing they've done with that belt in God knows how long. I don't think they've really done anything wrong there, regardless of some people complaining about it. I think it's been awesome.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. There were really two things about SmackDown that were really worth talking about. They actually had a good women's match. It was decent. It was somewhat worth watching. But I'm in agreement. Just the IC Contenders Gauntlet match that they had on SmackDown was really great. Just starting it off with Ambrose and just everything they did, and like you said, everything about the IC title match that they're building for WrestleMania has been good. And also the main event with Randy Orton afterwards coming out and attacking Seth Rollins it was great and amazing. I enjoyed that as well. Well, we do have a few more minutes, Brad, so there anything about Impact that you wanted to talk about, your favorite moments?
Man, I'm going to be honest. I hate to be another one of those guys because I did listen last week. I know Kevin pretty much said the same thing. I don't get a chance to watch it very often. I can't pinpoint what it is about Impact that can't keep me tuning in because it's definitely not the roster. They've got some talented guys. If I had to say what I think I'm probably missing out on, it's probably whatever Bobby Roode's doing because when I was watching, he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I agree. Now, kind of my favorite moments of Impact this week, they started off with Ultimate X hot and heavy, and it was not the traditional Ultimate X with the X Division guys. It was a tag team Ultimate X match. Very great match. Great way to start the show, hot and heavy, like I think you really should start a wrestling show. Also, after Joe Aries' match, which obviously that's a dream match among fans, I'm sure you and me would have enjoyed seeing that match. Having Spud come in and cash in his Feast or Fire briefcase to win the X Division title, I definitely enjoyed that. And the most anticipated main event in a while, Kurt Angle against Bobby Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight title, and Kurt Angle winning the title, was kind of my favorite moments. What are your thoughts on Kurt Angle winning the title? You happy about him getting the belt back, or do you think Lashley should have kept it a little bit longer because he's only been champion for I think 60-something days?
I guess I would have to say that at this point in Angle's career, he should really be putting people over. I mean, he's done everything. So I guess you would have to reserve judgment really for what are they going to do with him having the belt at this point. Is it going to give somebody the rub? Is it going to have a better payoff? If they do something to where they give some other guy a rub from taking the belt from him, then yeah, I would say that's awesome. But otherwise, I think he's really past the point where he needs the belt. He's above it.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. Well, that's all the time we have for this first segment. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back right after this. Hi, guys. This is Robert Red. I'm the host of the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast, the podcast by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Our podcast is currently looking for sponsors, so if you or your business would like to show your support, you can do so by going on YouTube or by emailing me at jonesborowrestling@gmail.com. So sit back, enjoy the show, and thanks. Hi, guys. This is Robert Red, the host of the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast, and I've got some great news for you. Our podcast is now available on YouTube. You can listen to past and present episodes of my podcast on my channel, along with donating to the show. Check it out today at youtube.com/user/TheRobertRed. Thank you.
This is Brad Hargett, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
And welcome back to the official podcast of Jonesboro Wrestling. This is Robert Red. I'm still joined by my special guest, Brad, today. Still doing good, Brad?
I'm great.
Okay, well, let's get this second segment of the podcast kicked off. And we've got some really interesting topics we're going to be discussing today. So to kick it off, we're going to talk about NXT. I know you and me are both an NXT fan. And I know you kind of mentioned off the podcast you wish that NXT would get more network time. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts of, should NXT get more network time? Should the show go a little bit longer than normal?
Yes, definitely. Anytime I watch NXT, and sometimes I may get a few weeks behind, but anytime I watch, I'm not ready for it to be over when it goes off. Simply put.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the answer that you just gave is the reason why I would be against NXT getting more network time, and it's just for the simple fact of, like you just said, of you are wanting more. It leaves you wanting more. If NXT, I feel, went to 2 or 3 hours, it would kind of take away the charm there that NXT brings. It leaves you wanting more, and you don't see the same stars week after week after week like you do on Raw. With it being 3 hours, Raw has to fill in that time with pretty much everybody that they got, and they don't really have room to rotate their roster out, so you pretty much have to see the same guys. So I felt if NXT went longer, you would get more of the same, and it would lose that spark, that passion, or I'm trying to find the right word. It would just lose that it factor it has about it that makes it such a great show that we both enjoy watching. So if it did get more network TV time, I feel you would really be lost if it went 2 or 3 hours.
I know you're not used to me saying this, but Robert, that makes sense.
Wow. I'm surprised you're actually not dishing me on my own podcast. So, hey, I'll give you a high five for that one. So, second question, we were talking earlier about the IC title and just what we've been enjoying it this past several weeks. So, I wanted to move into our second question of which title has more value, the IC or the US. The IC title has really been featured heavily on Raw and SmackDown with the gauntlet match that they just had on SmackDown, and just the title has been passed around for the last several weeks between the IC participants. And conversely, for the US title, they're letting John Cena, a guy who's been in the main event picture for years now, fight Rusev at WrestleMania for the US title. So, kind of what title do you think has more value at this point, Bradley? Do you think it is the IC title, or do you feel it's the US title?
I think that's objective to what the person is enjoying the most, and if I have to answer coming from that, I would say the IC title.
Okay, I definitely agree with the IC title. I mean, you want to kind of flesh out your answer, is it just for what you've stated, or?
Just the angle overall. I'm enjoying what they're doing to build to this big IC title match at Mania. I think the build's been better. Not that Rusev and Cena's been bad by any means, but personally I've been enjoying the IC title build more, so I would lean towards that automatically.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in agreement. I just feel like they have been handling the IC title picture a lot better with starting with Dean Ambrose on the title, and then just guy after guy, week after week, getting involved and taking the title, and just it almost reminds you of the Hardcore Championship back in the day, if you remember that, with the whole 24/7 rule. Or you would have the champions would constantly, like when Crash Holly got the title, he instituted the 24/7 rule. And then you would see every so often, pretty quickly, you'd see a new champion, and the title would be passed to another person, to another person, another person. So that's kind of what the IC title has felt to me is like the hardcore title, and it has kind of almost been given more importance, like we mentioned in the earlier segments, than it has been in quite some time. Now, like you did mention, the US title hasn't been bad, just with John Cena, obviously, like I mentioned, a main event talent, and coming down to fight Rusev for the U.S. title almost adds importance to the U.S. title, that it's so important that a main event guy is wanting to come down to face Rusev to face the U.S. title. But I think that's just John Cena's booking of getting away from being the main event picture and maybe letting new guys into it. So any other thoughts you've got about that, or Brad, before we move on to our last question?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, we do have quite a few more minutes, so I wanted to talk more about NXT, like we mentioned. And I know, like we mentioned earlier in this segment, we're both NXT fans. And NXT is considered the developmental system right now for WWE. In the past, they've used other places, like back in the 2000s, they used OVW. Back in the late 90s, it was like Memphis, they did that. So WWE in the past has really been known for using other territories or other promotions to use them as a developmental territory or a recruiting territory to bring guys up to the main roster. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts of, with NXT being kind of like the new developmental for WWE, do you feel that it positively impacts up-and-coming talent?
Yes. I don't see how it couldn't. They get a chance to learn not only how they're going to work as far as what stuff to do in the ring, but it's like you've heard Triple H say, or most people I'm sure have, they're learning the camera setup and where their timing and things like that, and that's so valuable when it comes to going on these big shows. So I don't see how NXT couldn't be good for them with all the work that they get and so many different facets between promo work and all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely agree with that, with them having NXT and WWE really taking control of the developmental system and really doing it internally. I do feel that it is good for them to get all that exposure and camera work, because it is preparing them for the main roster. But that's really where I wanted to go with this question, and I'll kind of throw it back at you, is with them being in NXT and getting all this development, like I mentioned, with the promo work and the camera work and stuff like that. Triple H has said NXT, he wants to make it into a touring brand. And so with that, do you think that is going to hurt talent to potentially, when they do go to the main roster, to be successful or not?
I don't think that I would do it, because I think it's overexposure. It's my opinion.
Okay. Because kind of where I wanted to go with it, if you really look at it, like I mentioned, NXT sole purpose. We have to remember what NXT sole purpose is. It's not to be a touring brand or anything like that. It's to get the developmental talent ready for the main roster, correct?
Right.
So with that, you have to be preparing them on what to expect for the main roster. Kind of like, if you use the analogy, high school is supposed to get you prepared for college, right? If that's the route you want to go. So if you really stop and think about it, I think Triple H is really doing the NXT talent a disservice with what he's doing. I mean, while they do get all this experience and work, he is not really preparing them for what is to be expected on the main roster. Because if you really look at the main roster, how many guys that have come up from NXT have been really successful? We just got the Ascension, and it looks like they were possibly going to get pushed. But right now, they are kind of working main event and Superstars, where they were working Raw and SmackDown, and they've not been successful. Adam Rose has had mediocre success after changing from, trying to remember who he was, Leo Kruger to Adam Rose. I mean, he's had mediocre success, so you've not really had true success. And just from the simple fact of, Vince, I think, has a very different philosophy than Triple H until Triple H takes over. I really do feel that he is doing a disservice to the NXT talent and not really preparing them for the main roster.
To add to what you said, listing off those guys, Bo Dallas is another one. He did so good with that character. I mean, he annoyed you to the point that you just wanted him to shut up, but that's what he was supposed to do, and he's just kind of faded off to the background.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes to show you, like you said, with Bo Dallas, and even what they were planning on doing with Adrian Neville, he's been great in NXT, and then the potential or the rumored Mighty Mouse gimmick on the main roster, or it's just the main roster is so different than what NXT is presenting that I do feel, once again, and I know I'm beating dead horse here, that he's not really preparing them for the main roster. I mean, he's making great superstars and he's presenting a good NXT show. I mean, it's a must-watch every week, but if you look at what happens when they go to Raw, they don't really, that success that they have on development doesn't really translate from NXT or developmental to the main roster.
I do want to challenge you a little bit there because I don't necessarily think it's Triple H doing them a disservice. I think it's Vince not doing the right things with them when they come over. We've heard too often how wishy-washy he is and changes things all the time. So I think that's the biggest part of it, if I had to guess anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a point I definitely could agree with, is we don't necessarily have to blame Triple H for it, but I do feel that, I mean, and it's either Triple H not preparing them for event until Triple H is taking care of the main roster, or at this point, I would almost say Triple H is doing a disservice to them and not preparing them for the way Vince thinks. Now, when he does take over, then I mean, obviously, it would be fair and well and dandy. But that's all the time we have for this segment. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be back with Rapid Fire right after this. Attention all Power of Pro Wrestling listeners. You now can show support for your favorite podcast by donating today on our Patreon page. By donating, you can get early access to our YouTube exclusives and the podcast before the public, along with other great content. You can donate today via debit or credit card or via PayPal. Go and check it out today at patreon.com/PPWP.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Honigan, known as Cornbread. I'm the voice of Out of Control Wrestling, inviting you to experience OCW in 2 ways. Flatlander, 609 Southeast Gibson Street in Hoxie, Arkansas, with a $6 entry fee. As a bonus, is a national taping. Or you can watch us every single Sunday night at 11 p.m. Eastern in syndication and YouTube, and also Tuesday nights the replay on YouTube at 11 Eastern. If you're not watching us, you ain't out of control. We'll see you then. This is Cornbread Chris Heineken. You're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast.
And welcome back to the official podcast of Jones Pro Wrestling. It's time for Rapid Fire.
Fire, fire.
Fire!
Burn, baby, burn.
Fire!
Burn.
Burn!
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I won. See, you can't beat me at this. This is my game, Brad. But on this rapid fire segment, we're going to talk about Ring of Honor stars to be signed by WWE. So I'm going to list the name, Brad. You're going to tell me if you think WWE would sign them or not, and just a quick response of why you think yes or no. So we're going to get started with an easy one. Let's go with Jay Lethal.
Yes. Dude is awesome on the mic and in the ring.
Okay. For Joe Lethal, it's kind of a difficult thing for me to say yes, just for a simple fact. He is a smaller guy. I mean, obviously, he's a great wrestler. I enjoyed him in TNA and stuff, and I feel he has a lot of great potential to make it in WWE, but I don't know if they would ever sign him. Okay, let's go to Adam Cole, baby.
I really don't have an opinion on him, if you want me to be honest.
So you're pretty much a no on Adam Cole?
Yeah, I would say no.
I mean, he has potential. He's got a great look and stuff. I mean, I could say maybe on him possibly getting signed with WWE. It would be difficult for me to say yes. Let's go with Mark Briscoe.
I don't think so. But just based off, they don't have him and his brother, which I don't even know if they're real brothers, if they even still work together.
They're real brothers.
Okay, well, to me, they don't have that look. I think the look's awesome, but I don't see him getting signed by WWE for that reason alone.
Yeah, if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have definitely said no, but with the strong rumors about them getting signed potentially, I'd have to say yes at this point, just for the simple fact of Jay and Mark tagging and them adding to their tag division, but just for the simple look, no, I don't think WWE would sign them. Let's go to Mike Bennett.
Yes. Dude's just got the look, and especially if they could bring in Maria with him again.
For the same reason you just said, I say a definite yes. For the simple fact of him with Maria and Mike Bennett, I just think fits the stereotypical WWE guy. He's just got the look that would fit. Okay, let's go with the Young Bucks.
Yes. If I understand, they've tried to get them in the past. I think it's the Bucks that keep themselves from going right now.
Okay, and I mean, the Young Bucks, I could potentially see them getting signed by WWE just to add to the tag team division, but I don't know with their size and stuff that WWE would want to sign them. But with Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, all these smaller guys that WWE has now, I mean, that could be into their favor. Okay, let's go with the Messiah, the Backbreaker, Roderick Strong.
Yes.
You see Roderick Strong? Okay, why do you see Roderick Strong?
From what little I've actually seen him work, he's just a really good worker. If nothing else, he could be a mechanic for him and get a paycheck for it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd love to see Roderick Strong in WWE with him not being a big guy, but I mean, I think WWE could potentially sign him. And last one, let's go with Unbreakable Michael Elgin.
I've got to be that guy and say I don't know anything about him, so I don't know.
I could definitely see WWE signing him. He is a bigger guy, and I mean, especially with Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens being the NXT champion, they are with bigger guys that aren't necessarily muscular, but just a bigger guy in itself. I could definitely see them signing Michael Elgin. Well, that's all the time we have left for Rapid Fire, so I want to thank you for joining me, Brad. And do you want to plug like your social media that people can follow you or find you, or anything you want to plug before the show we go off the air?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. You can follow me at BradH84 on Twitter.
Okay. So any Instagram or anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, once again, I do want to thank you, Brad, for joining me on the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. And this has been Robert Red, and we are signing off.